What's on tap? Okay. Last but not least, I want to just pivot a minute here from football action and talk a little bit about the NBA because Mark Cuban came out, and he's no longer the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, by the way, and said that we are going to soon see a $1 billion NBA player, like a $1 billion contract. So like a 5 year, 1 billion, 10 year, 1 billion, whatever. I don't know how exactly that would work, but he said we're going to see a $1 billion NBA contract. And that sounds all good and dandy. I know sports teams are selling for $5-6 billion now. And I know that players should be paid. They are the main product to his point. And it's okay if a player is richer than the owner. And I totally agree. They're the main product. But this is not going to happen. I think, and I love sports, I'm talking in sports, but I think sports team values have peaked. I think the bargaining agreements and the TV right deals have peaked. We're at a point where advertising is still going to be a relatively good business model, but not good enough to justify the prices that advertisers are going to have to pay to see a $1 billion contract. Because at the end of the day, we now are on streaming services, cord cutting, and quickly going through games and skipping commercials. There's going to be a point where advertisers are not willing to pay, what from where they are now, 3-4x of the advertising cost to make sure that they can actually go and supply enough money to make a $1 billion contract. I could actually see in a few years these contracts we're seeing taking a dip down. We saw it in baseball not too long ago when Alex Rodriguez got his $252 million contract. It took many, many years to have that surpassed because teams were not making as much money as they used to. So they took a step back on those contracts. Even went back up. But I actually see a point here where we're almost at the cusp of this is as big as NBA contracts will get. Not because these players don't deserve it, not because it's not a good business model, but there is a certain ceiling that something can reach. We're not going to see one day, oh, the Chicago Bears sell for $55 billion, or the Los Angeles Lakers just sold for a record 700 or $70 billion. We've peaked. I think the $10 billion mark is going to be the peak of sports teams. Maybe you'll see a little increase on that between 10 to 12 and then 8 to 10 dip. But I think we're going to kind of been into a place where we've plateaued in the growth of sports. And that's because I don't think advertisers are able to sustain this level. They'll have to pay to make it to a point where we see a $1 billion NBA contract. I could be totally wrong here, but I don't foresee it. I do never foresee us getting a $1 billion NBA contract.